Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Right on, writers, and welcome first-time viewers to the Books by Adrian author platform. It's good to be back. Welcome back to Books by Adrian. This is season 5, the premiere of our flagship show, Livestream Sunday. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad that you guys are here. Those of you that are here already, thank you guys so much for being here on time and everything. You guys are awesome, as always. If this is your first time with us, I am your host, Adrian Santiago. I'm an author and YouTube content creator up on here, and my debut novel, Mythic: Shadow of the Spark, is going to be coming out later this year. Hopefully, if I make all my deadlines, it'll be out in December. Maybe not. Maybe January. It's a murder mystery set in a sci-fi fantasy world. It's got an ensemble cast of characters, including BIPOC and LGBTQ characters in lead roles. And if this sounds like something that you would like to read, consider signing up for my newsletter. You can go to booksbyadrian.com, sign up for my newsletter. That's where I will be announcing everything first and foremost, including the cover reveal as well. So I hope that you guys will sign up if you haven't already. We have a great show for you guys today. Today's guest is going to be the awesome and powerful Garrett Robinson. Hello to you, sir. You'll be out here with us in just a moment. What else? Yep. Oh, yes. Label any questions for Mr. Robinson with a Q so that I may then single them out later during the live chat Q&A. Speaking of which, a warm welcome again to the people in my chat. Adam was first through the door. Welcome. Richard. Hello. Thank you. Lauren. Welcome. Hello. What? Adrian looks like a Batman villain on the side of that skyscraper. Oh, the opening. Okay, I gotcha. Shannon, hello, Shannon. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. All right. So what we're going to get started with today is the new segment for this season, at least for this first episode. We'll see how everybody likes it. All right, so our first story comes from Story Mark, and Story Mark has posted a new video this week all about shifting priorities with his AuthorTube, featuring very self-aware thoughts about himself as an author and a YouTube content creator. He brings up how the analytics triggered his perfectionism and imposter syndrome. So he has a very clear vision now for where he wants his channel to go. And while I agree with most YouTubers out there that you do need to pay attention to your analytics and use the information to progress and all that kind of stuff, you also need to carve your own path, right? So I also agree with Mark that you should kind of compartmentalize that information and not let it dominate you or the content that you create. There should be a balance. So all that to say is that his video is awesome. It has animations and stuff in it. And, you know, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff, especially since the sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit has been rumored to be circling. I don't know too many other living cartoons. So I'm rooting for Story Mark to get cast in that movie. Go subscribe to his channel. Leave him a comment, some words of encouragement in his comments. And let's help that creator feel really good about what he's putting out. Next up, We've got Black Girl Writing posted a video all about her plans for September, including her writing, her school, life in general. If you're an organized person at all who's into color coding and calendars and planners and intelligent people working on their friggin' master's degree, then go subscribe to Black Girl Writing and tell her all about how you organize your writing. And tell her in her comments. Try to sound smart. Brainiacs like other brainiacs. And finally, our third video of note this week is Rosalind Sterling, and her first video in about a month's time. So in this video, she talks about a very important and interesting topic to me, at least in my opinion, and that's writing advice. How much of it is actually good versus bad? And she makes some great points and left me with more questions, which I think means it was a great video. So go watch her video and leave your thoughts on the discussion in her comments right below mine, because I posted in there. Thanks again for being here, everyone. Garrett Robinson will be coming out to join us after
Check
this.
the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right. So our guest today is the author behind the Nightblade Epic. And boy, is it an epic, because I was looking through his list of books, and they are many. He is prolific. Garrett Robinson is here today. He gives away the first book in the Nightblade Epic for free if you sign up to his newsletter. And we all know how we love newsletters around here. So go to underrealm.net. Underrealm.net. Let me see if I had it queued up here. I believe I do. I did not have it queued up. I'm a bad host. Okay, I'm going to throw it up in a minute. Everybody, clicks and all that good stuff. And help me to welcome the prolific Garrett Robinson.
Your titles have got this crackling noise that's it's ASMR for the deepest part of my brain. I literally feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing
It's supposed
up in the
to
most
be
pleasurable way.
It's supposed
so
to be
good.
like wood, like constructing itself and like stretching. And like, I love that sound too, man. I crack my
Oof.
knuckles all the time. It's good stuff.
Ooh, I'm like a cat when you scratch that one part of their back and they just arch completely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. What's up, man? Good to see you.
What's up, dude? Good to see you. I apologize for how like rusty I am. It's the first episode back, and I'm just trying to like juggle some balls here. So I hope that that you enjoy your stay with us here today.
Absolutely. And I know
Despite everything.
exactly how you feel. Exactly how you feel. I'm getting back to, I've been on a project recently to record all of my books as audiobooks, and I'm right at the tail end, and I'm starting to write my next book. And it's like it's the first time all over again. I'm just like, wait, how do I do this again? Words.
Yeah, I hear that too, man. Especially after a long break, you're just like, what am I doing? Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. I also have to give a shout out to Richard Holiday, who is shouting the praises of spreadsheets in the comments. And a little known fact about me, I am a spreadsheet junkie. I run my entire life on spreadsheets. I've got them for everything.
You are in enemy territory, because Richard and I are having a little bit of a feud where anytime anyone asks any question about anything, his answer is always inevitably spreadsheets. And I take issue with that. So I even have like t-shirts that I sell that say "Stop the Spread," and it has a spreadsheet logo on it, and it's just to nag at him.
I think I think it's time to tell you I'm actually a secret agent sent by Richard to infiltrate the show and actually, with the command of the platform, state the gospel of the spreadsheet.
Garrett, if you were not joking right now, it would not surprise me. It would not surprise me one bit, because that sounds exactly like something that Richard would do. That sounds like exactly what he would do. Let me throw some music in the background here so people don't get bored just listening to my voice. Dude, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being the premiere episode guest. Always a coveted spot, and I was happy to give it to you. Richard
Absolutely,
cackles
my
evilly. So I'd like to give you a moment to talk to the people who may not know you in my audience. Let them know who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Yeah, so I am Garrett Robinson, and I write epic fantasy. It's just straight up. I have been writing. I published my first novel in 2012. Sorry, I always look at my bookshelf when I talk about them. But I was experimenting early on with just a few different genres, a few different ideas that I wanted to put out there. And then I kind of have always been a huge fantasy reader myself. And I just knew I was going to end up there eventually. And then once I started, after sort of just like trying with like thriller and like horror comedy and stuff like that, it took off. Once I started writing epic fantasy, I was like, no, this is probably what I should have just been doing the whole time. So I've been doing that ever since. In addition to the Nightblade Epic, I've got 3 other series currently going on in a shared universe called Underrealm. And that's just been my life since 2014, has just been publishing that. We're up to 13 of my books now. And then I've published 1 novel by another author in the same universe, and a collection of short stories by 7 other authors, all in the same universe, with hopefully more of that stuff happening soon, in addition to my own work. I focus on characters. I focus on bringing fantasy back to what I view as sort of its roots of ordinary people in an extraordinary world. I like to focus on heroes that are less chosen ones, mighty warriors, world-breaking wizards, and more of the people who have to survive in and around people like that, because that's the stories that I like, and that's the stories that I try to write. So yeah, that's kind of who I am.
Beautiful, man. A very professional introduction that literally sets up everything that I was going to ask you for today. We're going to go right down the list of everything you were just talking about. So let's start with how long you have been writing. And you said you started publishing in 2012. So that was part of that question too. You've already answered that. But how long have you actually just been writing, even if it was for yourself before publishing?
I mean, I think I really got into it when I was about 12 or 13. And a big thing that made me just want to do it more as a passion, and then eventually as a career. We had creative writing assignments at school, and if the teacher really liked an assignment, she would read it to the whole class, and kids would come up to me after the class and be like, "What happens next?" I was like, I don't know. I wrote that. And so they would make me write the next one, and the teacher would read that. And I'm very definitely a person who, and I think that this is important for people to know about themselves, whether it's true about themselves or not, is I'm definitely a person who thrives on feedback. There's many people who strictly write for themselves, and I'm happy for them. That must be a lot easier because I live for feedback to a degree, for validation, but I try not to tie up self-worth into that either. But I love to hear when people are happy or interested in what I'm doing, whether it's writing or anything else. So that early experience of people just going, "This was really cool, what happens next?" was what made me go, "Oh, okay, I should probably think about doing this." When I finished high school, I was away from it for a while. I ended up working in a sound studio and then working in like independent film and stuff. And then I think it was around 2011, 2012 that I just went, my wife and I, had our first kid. And I suddenly realized that if I don't do what I want to do now, it's never going to happen. So I started writing and got into it in self-publishing. I always knew that traditional publishing was probably not something I was going to actively pursue, and there was a time when that was the only option. But then I heard, there was sort of the self-publishing revolution happening at that time, and a friend of mine was the one who was like, you can just put your book out and people can just read it. And that was it. I was like, oh, if that's the option, boom. And I just started publishing as fast as I possibly could.
Your love of feedback was apparent to me from the jump. I joined your newsletter and got the first Nightblade novel, and with it a deeply personal and heartfelt request for feedback. You're a realist about it. You know that most people aren't actually even going to read the thing. So many of us just buy books and leave them. Like, there's a couple in here that I haven't read. Mm-hmm. So it's,
there's a lot on this shelf I haven't read yet.
Yeah. So we all get it. But for those of us that do read it, you're requesting feedback from pretty much everybody and stated for the goal of improving further stories. So
yeah,
dude, I'm all about it. I'm the same way where, I run into a lot of authors who send their work out to a critique partner or an editor, and they talk to me about being terrified the whole time. And I'm like, dude, I'm excited when I send that stuff off. Like, I can't wait for it to come back covered in red, because it's just opportunities to make it better and better and better. Like, why wouldn't you want to make it better? You know what I mean? What are you scared?
Totally. I don't care if it's conversation or writing. I love putting stuff out there that people then spend time thinking about and analyzing. And just like I love in a discussion, I love having discussions with people. To me, sending out an early draft or giving something to an editor or a writing partner, critique partner, whatever, is sort of like talking with a friend about an idea that you haven't fully formed yet, which people should do more often, by the way. Don't go to Twitter with that. Like,
you can curse here. It's okay.
Okay, good. I actually forgot. That was one thing. I always forget to check beforehand. And sometimes people are like, well, let's keep it family friendly.
I got a real potty mouth on me, man. And for the most part, I filter myself for the sake of the guest. But as soon as the guest lets one rip, I'm like, all right, game on. Like, let's go.
But no, like I talk to my friends all the time. I'm like, okay, there's online discourse about this thing, and I don't know how I feel about it. I'm going to talk to you about it. And so you talk and you sort of like put out your ideas and how, I think this, but then by contrast this, and it's like, it's complex. And then the other person can help you. They can just listen while you talk yourself through it, or they can offer feedback and replies. That's what writing is like for me, especially in the early stages. It's like, here's how I think the story goes. And then people can look at it and be like, well, what about this? What about this? And then when it's readers reading a finished product, they come back and they say, wait, does this mean this? And they start to, develop their fan theories and conspiracy theories about, yada, yada, yada. And sometimes that influences the book. Most of the times it doesn't. It's just kind of fun. But that interaction with people, I'm a people person. I'm very much not an introvert, which I know is more common with writers and authors, but
yeah,
I'm not at all. I love putting it out there.
I'm an introvert, or at least I was, but ever since becoming a family man, that doesn't really exist anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't just go home and recharge my introvert batteries like I used to. Like, there's always somebody around. There's always noise going on. Like, I'm never alone. So
totally.
Yeah. So that's gone. And I think that's opened me up as a writer to the community that I've been introduced to on here, because before all this, I was definitely very introverted, and I'd go out with my friends if I was invited somewhere with like a good 3 weeks notice. Sure, absolutely. But then I would like cave up for like a week and a half because I'm like, too many people. No, thank you. All right. So next thing I wanted to ask you about was legacy books and Underrealm. Mm-hmm. For those of us who are not well versed. Oh, and before you answer, I wanted to let you know this is who you're hitching your wagon to right here. Mm-hmm. This is what you're dealing with.
Yeah. No, I saw that joke. You could say a fantasy. Absolutely. That is 100% me. That's my brand. That's my entire personality in a single terrible pun. Like, fantasy. Absolutely. I'm all about it. Love it.
I like it. So, legacy books and Underrealm.
Yeah. So Legacy Books is my publishing company. I originally was just publishing as myself. And then I realized that I should have some sort of business entity taking care of this. And then I realized further that I wanted to create a universe that other people could publish in and play in, and so it was even more useful to have just a company that was sort of Legacy Books is the brand, so to speak. And then Underrealm is the actual universe that the books take place in. So it also became one of those things. I'll admit that, like, when it comes to, as soon as I'm able, I definitely want to hire a person who is, like, you know, savvy with the branding, with the this, with the that, because you know, legacybooks.com wasn't available, but underrealm.net was. So that's why that's the website, but the company is Legacy Books. All that stuff should be unified, but if I'm spending time doing that, I'm not creating the next book, which is way more important to me. You know what I mean?
I like that. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Now Nightblade is the first book in the series of the same name. Mm-hmm. And you give that away free to newsletter subscribers, as we said earlier. Yeah. Give the people at home the elevator pitch for Nightblade and the Nightblade Epic.
So it's Nightblade. The Nightblade Epic is Robin Hood meets Batgirl. Lauren, the character on the cover, who's you can see on the screen right there, wants to be. She's grown up in, first of all, a really terrible home life. She's grown up with, like, terrible parents in a little backwater village in the woods. But she's grown up hearing stories about heroes and people who go out there and, you know, tear down tyrants and make the lives of people, the general people, better. And that is how she's survived a really terrible childhood, is by, you know, projecting herself into those stories. So she wants to go out in the world and be this master thief, this person who can, you know, topple dictators and cruel nobles and barons and everything like that by discovering their secrets, or, you know, draining their treasuries, or through stealth and subterfuge, never through direct violence, by, you know, just sort of taking them down from the inside. But she does have, you know, certain unreal expectations. She goes out in the world, and the one thing that she keeps running into is, like, I'm not going to kill people. And she doesn't live in a very utopian society in that respect. Even other kids, other, like, runaway kids that she runs into and ends up defending and stuff, there's, you know, like a 12-year-old who's like, well, I would kill someone. And she's like, no, we've got to have rules. And they're like, why? Nobody else does. So she is a bit naive. There's one thing that I think is one of those things that I like to, quote unquote, warn people about, and it is a warning to some people, and to other people it is an advertisement, which is that Lauren makes really terrible decisions a lot of the time. She is a child who is not a fully formed, fully grown adult, and she has gone through so much crap in her life that you see her decide to do these things and you're like, why would you do this? And the answer is because she's not some, pertaining to what I was saying before, she's not some wise hero. She's not some all-knowing person. She doesn't always make the best decisions, but she is a good person who tries to do good, and who, either through luck or through the fact that people around her can see she wants to do the right thing, usually pulls through in the end. So I love her very much. I could talk about her forever, but that's sort of this is a long elevator ride. I just realized you asked for an elevator pitch, and we are going to the top of the tallest skyscraper in the world.
It's understood that your series is called the Nightblade Epic for a reason. So I think we were all very prepared. Please go on. We still have about 3 more floors before we reach the top.
But that's the idea. And she makes a ton of enemies because she doesn't have a whole lot of respect for the law, because she's seen and heard stories throughout her life. You know, it's very popular, just like it is in our world's human history, to have stories about, like, the bad kings and the bad nobles and all the people who sort of, like, oppress the people they have power over. So she, you know, gets on the wrong side of the law a lot of the time. But then also the other criminals are like, oh, awesome, yeah, you're on our side, right? Because you don't like them, they don't like you, so why don't you join us and we'll murder people? And she's like, no, damn it. Does nobody understand what I'm trying to do? And the truth is, nobody does understand what she's trying to do.
Robin Hood meets Batgirl. Yeah,
there you go.
For sure. I'm I'm digging it already, man. I have the book free from you, so I'm going to be diving into that very soon.
Hey.
Hold on, I just saw Lauren has no respect for the law, but she cares deeply about what is right.
That's correct. In D&D terms, she is firmly chaotic good. She is not lawful whatsoever, but she is 100% on the side of helping people and doing what is right. And she will go to the ends of the earth. She suffers a lot, continues to suffer, but now instead of being made to suffer, she is putting herself in situations that are dangerous, harmful, traumatizing in order to help other people.
But she kicks ass, so everything's gonna be fine.
Exactly. Most of the time she's actually very good at what she's trying to do. It's just nobody understands it. Right
on, man. I have characters like that too that I could just talk about forever, you know, like the one, like, you know, obviously I love all my characters. Yeah, but yeah, the make it where you're just like, oh dude, I could talk about her forever.
Yeah. And it's also, I find, tell me if you feel the same way, where when you start talking about them, usually what happens is you talk about all the stuff that you wish people understood better, or that you don't get asked about often enough. Because I start to look like what's his face, Charlie Day in that screenshot from Always Sunny with the boards. Like, here's what people don't understand about Lauren. Nobody's seeing this. Nobody else is seeing this. I've put it there. All the pieces are there. I've connected it. I've made the connections. I'm making them. Like, I'll talk about it forever.
You know, it's part of the job these days as a writer and an author, right? Like, to just kind of, you don't have to help everybody. Most people are gonna, you know, figure stuff out just fine, but just to help a couple of them along, like, hey man, like, this is what's going on here. I know you're not picking up on it. I can tell by the look in your eye that you're not picking up on it. But if you look right here, yeah, for sure. You know, I am no George R.R. Martin, but I love his books, and he's a big influence on me as a writer. And one of the things that I love that he does, that I realized that he does within the last like year or so, is that he layers 3 different stories into every chapter. You're not just getting the story of what's happening to your point of view character. You're getting history of the world from everything that they're learning, telling a second story. But then you're also getting this weird like astrology thing that he's doing, where he has like constellations in his world's sky that have stories attached to them that are part of the lore and the history of the world, and they're repeating through the characters. And every time that a golden-haired character is up in a tower, like, it means something with the original story, and you're just like, how is he doing this?
It's nuts.
It's one of those things that like I strive for as an author someday, to like reach that peak, you know, where I can just like, where most people will have no idea it's there, but it's there, you know.
Totally. I love my thing. If I have a thing, because I can't do that. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's so beyond me.
It's so hard.
So, yeah. So the thing that I go for instead is I play the long con on long buildups of secrets and reveals. So there's stuff I've got Underrealm books. I know roughly how they're gonna go. Like, I don't know roughly how they're gonna. I just know where things are gonna go roughly for like years and years into the future. And there is, for the current sort of, you know, to borrow Marvel terminology, in the current like phase of Underrealm, there's this huge reveal, which is actually coming at the end of the next book. Huge, massive reveal, and I've been laying the seeds of it since Nightblade, since the very first book, because I knew that the next 14 books were going to build towards this one moment. And the same thing is true for the next books after that and the next one. And I've got an idea for the end of sort of like my current plan for Underrealm, which is probably literally like 40 books in the future. And there's been stuff that I've been layering in for that since the beginning as well. And now, in like, for my ideas of what could happen beyond even that, because I do want this story world to go on. I do want it to be a little bit of a Marvel universe where at one point I either step back or die, because people do.
People die.
Okay, on this podcast, you heard it here first. People die.
Breaking news.
But like that's why I want to publish other people and have sort of a whole collective story going forward, because I want it to keep going beyond me. I want to be the Stan Lee, you know, like
that's beautiful, man.
80s and 90s, and just reading the new Underrealm books that are coming out written by other people and being like, well, I never would have thought of that. That's really good. You know,
you're gonna be making cameos in all the movie adaptations.
I'll be every drunk old guy in the corner of the tavern when they walk in,
just slobbering like, "Oh, yeah.
Hand me another ale, Excelsior,
Excelsior." Oh man, you just became my favorite guest ever. It just happened just now, just like that. All right, so then explain to us about the Academy journals, how they differ from Nightblade. Is it the same universe? It's a different storyline, if I'm understanding correctly. What's
different
that all about?
Storyline? Yeah, so same universe, same timeline, but different storyline. So it essentially, I've kind of got a reading order up on my website where it's just sort of like, this is the order this is the books in their different series, but then this is actually the time order that they happen in. And some people like to read it one way and some like to read it another way. I understand if people are like, because it could feel a little disjointed jumping back and forth between series, and I totally get that. But some people just want to know exactly what's happening moment to moment. So the Academy journals actually briefly intersects with the Nightblade Epic at one point, because in the fourth Nightblade book and the first Academy journals book are mostly taking place in the same place at the same time. Both the main characters are in the same city for the majority of those two books. And then Lauren from the Nightblade Epic goes off and does her thing. And then Eben from the Academy journals goes off and does his thing. But they encounter a lot of the same characters. There's a bunch of overlap. And of course, they're experiencing the same major changes that are happening in the world. Again, they are the ordinary people who are trying to survive in an extraordinary world. The Academy journals, I used to pitch it slightly differently, but today, for reasons that we don't have to dive into, today I would pitch it as generic wizard school story meets The Godfather. Because Eben he has the potential to be a wizard, but he's never been trained because his father didn't want him to. So he is finally, somebody else steps in and is like, no, we have to put this boy in school. So he goes to study at the school where wizards learn how to become wizards. But his family is the premier Underrealm crime family. They are the mafia. They are the mob. And he wasn't aware of that either, because he is, again, a young, just on the cusp of manhood person. So imagine if that sort of character was suddenly discovering and struggling with the fact that his family are kind of the bad guys to a degree. They're not the Dark Lord. They're not Sauron. But they're the mafia. If the mafia existed in frickin' Gondor, if there were the mob in Minas Tirith, that would be his family. So he is, again, a good person trying to do the right thing, and his whole family is like, "You're gonna do us a little favor." He's like, "I don't want to do that."
Reminds me of that comic series Runaways from Marvel.
I'm not familiar.
So it's a group of kids whose parents get together for like a special night every year or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So they know each other, these kids, and they put up with each other for a night every year, but they're not necessarily friends, and they're all respective misfits in their own circles. And this one night they get together, and through a series of mishaps and whatnot, they stumble upon their parents conducting like a ritual blood sacrifice, and they realize our parents are supervillains and like very much like a mafia crime organization, and we got to get out of here. So they steal all of their parents' like tech and powers and stuff, and they run off. Runaways, and it's a whole series about them just being misfit kids with no parental supervision, like out there trying to be superheroes because their parents are supervillains.
Oh, that's so cool! I want to read that
series.
now.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's a good series. The read order thing is something that I love. I love watch orders and read orders. I think it's left over from my comic book days as a kid, and
Totally.
read them in this order or whatever. So like Better Call Saul just ended recently, and the first thing I did was like, well, now I have to figure out like the timeline of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and I have to like organize it. So every time I watch it, I'm gonna watch it in like that order.
Bounce back and forth between the two of them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh man, I have this crazy, stupid, ambitious idea, which is that I'm going to be putting out a mega bundle audiobook of all of the 13 Underrealm books that have come so far, because the next book is the cap on the first phase. If this was the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this next book is the Avengers, because we've met all the individual characters who have all had their storylines. Now they're all going to come together, right?
Yeah.
In anticipation of that, I want to put out this massive audiobook bundle, and a crazy part of me wants to either put out the original version of this or put out an alternate version of this where all of the chapters in the entire audiobook are in chronological order. Go sort out where the different chapters, to pull from all the different series and make it this huge multi-POV story that's all going on at the same time. But also story structure wise, that might be a total disaster mess. So that might just be a thing that I might do it anyway and put it up for sale on my own website. Like put out the correct version on Audible, but put an alternate version on my own website. And it's like, listen, if you're coming here to buy this directly from me, you are a crazy person and you know what you're getting into. You and me, we understand that this is dumb and should never have been done, and you want it anyway. Give me $100.
I love the self-awareness of all that, man. I love it. Famously, Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons, the fourth and fifth books in A Song of Ice and Fire, were supposed to be one book. And so he split them up into parallel story. This is what's going on in Westeros, and this is what's going on in Essos.
Right.
And since then, fans have put together a reading order of the chapters, and it's madness, because you're as big as each of those books is, jumping back and forth between them, it's complete madness. But supposedly it's a great read, so I'm gonna have to try it that way too.
I might try that as like research and just be like, how does this actually work, and read it back and forth. And if it's a total mess, then I might not bother.
Well, see, that's the thing though, is because he, at least in the beginning, was writing them as one book and later had to split them up. Right. Whereas you already wrote them as separate books from the beginning. Right. So I wonder if it's going to like open your eyes to plot holes that you didn't know were there when you start putting them in order. That's my fear when I do stuff out of order. Is it going to gel once, you straighten it all out?
Yeah, totally.
Now, I don't see any new episodes up since November, but tell us a little bit about the Nightblade Epic podcast.
I feel really bad about this. I have to pull it down.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. I feel terrible.
This segment is ruined.
I know. No. Well, actually, I hope that this could actually be a helpful thing for anybody out there who aspires to anything creative, whether it's authoring or anything else. My books blew the hell up in 2016 and 2017. Best 2 years of my life.
Nice.
We were doing just amazingly well. My wife quit her job. We moved to Oregon, where we'd been wanting to move for a long time. Put our kids in a fantastic school. It was just like, woo, just absolute rocket ride. The dream. 100% the dream. And I started doing a whole bunch of other stuff. That's when I first started producing audiobooks. I launched the podcast. I was doing like 3 YouTube videos a week. I was, what's the word? Burning myself the hell out. And when
it's a big series, man.
Yeah.
It's a big series.
And a number of things happened over the next few years, not least of which pandemic, obviously. But even when things, there was just this huge groundswell of like luck and a few things going right in the exact right ways that led to this massive rocket ride. And then things, as they do, settled out into a more normal sort of range in terms of just like how much we were making and how many people were buying and reading the books and everything like that. And at that point, I was still trying to keep going the 15 different plates I had spinning. And suddenly it just became completely unsustainable. So for the last, I would say probably year and a half, I've been doing this constant reevaluation of what I need to do, because what I really want to be doing is just writing. And I wanted to get all these other projects going and then like hire people on to continue them, get the ball rolling, and then get somebody to sort of like, you know, just keep it rolling. But the podcast, a bunch of other things that I had going on stuff that's had to take a back seat as I gradually pare down the stuff in my life and just focus on what I actually want, which is to be writing my next book. And then if I do get to a point in the future where the books, you know, the sales swell up again and I've got like some extra cash and time to throw around, then it doesn't become, okay, I want to go do this other thing. It's, hey, you, how would you like to come do this other thing that lends itself to the books? Because I am best and I do best when I'm just pertaining to one of your shows, writing the damn story. That is my job. Yeah. Everything else is something that somebody else should be doing.
Good call. yeah, for sure. I feel the same way, man, because of course I have a day job, and then I'm doing all of this AuthorTube stuff, and I'm trying to get this book done. I thought that I would have the second draft ready for Critique Partners by this week, and it's not ready yet. I'm still editing. My editor still has some chapters to go through, and I still have a lot of work to do after that. So I'm already a little bit behind, but it's mainly because I'm doing so much other stuff. And we talk about that a lot on this channel, how authors don't have one job. Even if they don't have a day job, even if they're full-time authors, they don't have one job. They have like 19 jobs because you do pretty much everything yourself. Yeah. And it's an incredible challenge, and I don't know why any of us do it, but we do.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, I think it's a thing. It's one of those things where we do it because we love it. There's no reason to do it beyond, wow, I really enjoy writing and telling these stories. And then if it happens to turn into something that becomes your job, becomes your career and everything like that, great. And if not, you know, I will always know that I've got people who have read my books and it meant something to them. I will always know that, you know, one of my readers got a quote from one of my books tattooed on his body. I'll always know that another person, you know, like was going through a really hard time and had one scene in a book, like they told me that got them through that time. I don't need to be a Stephen King or a George R.R. Martin who never has to work again in my life or anything like that. I want to keep telling stories and hopefully make more stuff like that happen. And if not, it's just fun, you know?
Yeah, man. You know, that pie in the sky dream of being like that famous author, like with all the money and all the TV show adaptations and all that stuff. It's like, maybe just write some good stories again, man. Maybe just put out a book. So here's something I want to ask you about, because you know, my debut isn't out yet. I haven't experienced this, but it's something that I think about all the time. Fan art. What's it like getting fan art from people about, you know, pieces of your characters and stuff? Like,
it's the best frickin' thing in the world.
I knew it.
I will say that fan art is amazing. Fan fiction is my jam. That is the greatest, best possible. Like, and the thing about fan fiction,
so many authors hate that.
I do have to advise people to be careful. If you talk to traditionally published authors, they will say, I don't read it, I can't read it. If I ever read it and it influenced the story, you know, even subconsciously, somebody could sue me, my publisher would drop me and everything like that. And I'm like, I am making a personal decision to just say, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to happen. It's that I can't envision a world where that happens. So anytime I hear about or see, like that fan fiction out there exists, I go read it instantly, and I just read it, and I read it multiple times, and it's coffee shop, AU stuff, and it's this, that, and it's just, I love it so much. It is the best thing ever. But I do have to tell people, objectively speaking, recognize that a lot of authors advise that you don't read it, that you don't look at it or anything like that. And fan art is much safer because that's just its own thing, and you can just retweet someone on Twitter and that's it. It's the greatest. It's the greatest thing in the world. The other thing is theorizing, fan theorizing. That happens in my Discord server a lot. Is just the best. The best.
My editor is my sister, and she's edited my stuff for as long as I've written. And she is able to be both a critique partner editor and a beta reader at the same time. So she's giving you all the corrections and all of the writerly things that you need to fix for this to work, but she's also giving you, holy shit, I have no idea that this character was so and so, or oh my god, or disagreeing with the characters or being frustrated with them. And every once in a while she'll be like, okay, I have a theory here, and she'll put notes in there about her theories of what's coming up later. And that's what it's all about for me, because I'm just like, yes, theorize, just try to figure it out. You won't. I know what I'm good. I know what's coming. You don't know. Oh, it's the best. It's so much fun. So I can't wait for fan art, because as excited as you just got, I'm like, that's what I want. That's the drug I want. Totally.
And I love to tell my readers and the people in the Discord server, I tell them this freely. They've guessed every big plot twist. They did. Someone at some time in a conversation I saw said, what if it's blah? And I've told them this, but they've also guessed a ton of other ones that are wrong, and they've constructed theories for all of them. It's like, what if this, then it's this person? And I'm like in my head, I'm like, yep. And then another person is like, what if this, and it's this person? I'm like, nope. But they don't know which one. So I'm just able to tell them, like, someone out there got it. Someone out there is going to be super vindicated in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is.
Oh man, when they get to go to their buddies and I told you, I called it. I called it years ago.
Yeah. The Critical Role fandom is just full of that stuff. I don't know if you're involved at all, but the
Critical Role, no.
Critical Role is it's an online D&D show. So it's a bunch of famous voice actors from video games and stuff. They started playing D&D. I think they started the show in 2015, and it's just been going on for years. I'm obsessed. I'm a huge fan, and the fandom is full of fan art, fan fiction, and then theories that come out in the show years later, and people are like, I said it in 2018. It's awesome.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, that's what's up. Okay, we're gonna do this funny little segment called Comment of the Week before we get into the live chat Q&A. So, comment of the week this week comes from somebody who's in our chat, Mr. Ben Pick. It was on the latest House of the Dragon video. What's in the box? Yeah, from the beginning. Loving your excitement for the Joust tourney and the rest of this season. You are right. The cinematography of this show is much improved over Game of Thrones. I responded to that with at least the early seasons of Game of Thrones, because eventually their action got really, really good towards the second half of that series. But this one is starting off strong right off the bat. Leave comments on my videos, guys. You could be the comment of the week. I just kind of pick them at random, so everybody has fun. All right.
I haven't seen the new show. Is it good?
I've only seen the first episode. I still have to see the second one.
Okay.
I had stuff back up on me this week. The first episode began really strong. There's at least one casting choice that I'm like, oh, that one's the weak link. He's kind of bringing it down a little bit, but otherwise the cast is very strong. The writing is decent. I feel like it's going to get better and better as it goes. That first episode has a lot of heavy lifting to do, sure. But it is shot amazingly. It looks like $1 billion. It looks so good. So and all the dragons look different from each other now. They're not all just Drogon with different skin. They all look different. It's
that's good. Amazing. I am always hopeful. I totally understand a lot of people had the impulse. They're like, okay, the ending of the Game of Thrones series messed me up. I didn't like it. So they don't want the new series.
It's the first thing they say. It's but season 8. I'm like,
but I'm like, but don't you want the new series to be good?
Yeah.
I want it to be good. Maybe it'll be bad. I don't know. But I want it to be. I want more cool nerd stuff. I always want more cool nerd stuff. Even
like,
if
why
I think
wouldn't
it's
you?
gonna be bad, I want it to be good.
Like every time somebody is like already pessimistic about an upcoming project, I'm like, but a little hope, fellas. Come on, just give me a little hope.
I'm so nervous to watch the Lord of the Rings show.
I've seen the first episode of that too.
Is it good?
I'm okay. I'm a Tolkien fan. I'm not a super fan. I haven't read the Silmarillion, etc. So the big complaint that people have about it is that because they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion over at Amazon, it's not as lore heavy as people wish that it was.
Okay.
It's more character centric. It's more just about like the characters themselves. So for me, I'm in, because like I don't have like that baggage of like, oh, it has to be like this for that. You know what I mean? So for me, that first episode was great. Galadriel is awesome. Elrond is awesome. And it feels like the first movie. It feels like Fellowship of the Ring when you're in the Shire and everything is magical and kind of like just almost pleasant and like uplifting. Like that's what that first episode feels like. Even when they're talking about all the heavy stuff, like you're just like, oh man, this fantasy world it's here for me, man. It's here.
Fingers crossed. I'm watching it tonight, and I want it.
I hope you like it.
So good.
I hope you like it. You just have to let go of like the Silmarillion. No, just relax. All right, we're gonna watch a thing together here.
All right.
And then we're gonna dive into live chat Q&A. Let me turn the music off, and here we go. Yeah, baby.
That's a bomb ass cover. I love that cover. Hell yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. I made that trailer for him, not to brag. Now, Tuesday, Tuber Book Club will be discussing the first half of Falling Through, and we'll do the second half 2 weeks after that. Mr. Ben Pick has graciously given members of Tuber Book Club a free copy if you do not own one already. So sign up for Tuber Book Club at the website. Link is in the description down below. Once you sign up, you'll get the link in your email and free books. Free books is awesome. Sweet.
Hell yeah.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty here. Here we go. I watched you this time. That was funny.
Oh, they're so good. So good. Ooh.
All right, here we go. You know what? Let's do a thing where we select I have it queued up. I have to share the screen. Okay, here we go. We're going to share this right here. Boom. All right, y'all. We're gonna figure out who's gonna go first.
Your technology is so fancy,
isn't it? I try. Laura Facey. All right. We have you right here. Okay. When planning out characters, how do you leave room for growth in said characters?
Well, when I'm planning out characters, very early on, I start with I know their major flaws very early on. So when I was explaining Lauren, for example, earlier, one of the very first things that I said, because it's always one of the very first things about her, is she does not make good decisions because she's never been taught how to make good decisions. She doesn't know how to be responsible. She doesn't know how to do much of anything. So she is constantly, and she has a sense of right and wrong, which is of course good and important, but she has a sense of right and wrong that is entirely inflexible and based off of stories that she heard growing up and not based on the real world. So her primary flaw is one of ignorance. And the great thing about ignorance is that it can be a repeating flaw. She can be very ignorant about one thing in the first 3 books in her series, and then all you have to do is introduce new things in the next book, the next few books, and everyone else is like, you never heard about this? You didn't know about this? And she says, I grew up in the woods where I didn't know anything. And so it can be just a constant thing for her to continue to overcome. And it's almost not even that she makes bad decisions. Often it's that she's making the best decisions she can with the information she has. And so every character can have something like that. In the Academy journals, Eben's major flaw is that he's just been so privileged his entire life. His family was rich, everything was taken care of. His dad's always been a bit of a dick to him, but it's like not the same situation as Lauren, where like he wasn't like beaten or abused or anything like that. His dad just sucked as a dad. But she's a cute, sheltered badass. Sheltered in one way, yes, I will say that.
Sheltered by being unsheltered, apparently.
Exactly. But Eben is so privileged that people are like, yeah, the world kind of sucks sometimes. And he's like, well, I don't know. I always had enough to eat. And everyone's like, your experiences are not universal. So that's the thing that, sorry?
Good life lesson.
Yeah, totally. And so you just have to start with that. And then if you have a continuing series, because again, I want all my, series to go on past the point where I'm writing them. You will subconsciously continue to instill, if you're really imagining them as people, you'll continue to instill flaws in your characters. After the first 3 books, you'll know what Lauren has overcome, but you will also have revealed to yourself more stuff that she needs to work on. She starts to become arrogant, maybe, or she's too successful for too long, and she starts to discount the fact that things can go wrong and people get hurt because of it. New stuff is always going to come up because just like in real life, your characters are going to continue to experience new things, and they shouldn't ever stop growing.
Agreed. And the epicness of your series makes that question a very poignant one, because there's just like experience after experience. You have to not only remember what has happened to your character, but how it affects them in this moment. Like they're faced with this thing in front of them. What from their past is going to influence how they make this decision now? It's a whole
Totally.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Next question. Is it difficult for you to separate your ego from the feedback?
No, it is too easy.
Same.
I tell my beta readers and I tell my feedback people, I say, please be brutal. I don't say be honest, I say be brutal, because a lot of the time people, especially early on, would be like, I don't want to hurt your feelings. So I feel like this scene could have been better. This character wasn't as compelling in the new book as she was in the old book. And I'm like, okay, So you liked it. And I eventually coached them into, Garrett, in this book, you ruined Annis. She was my favorite, and now she sucks. She sucks. She's bad, and you should feel bad. And I'm like, thank you. I will fix this now. Because I got the honest, like, no, this is very, very bad, and something needs to be done about it. And here's why. And I could just honestly look at it, see what they were talking about. And even in that case, I can still disagree. I can still see that and go, I understand why you're saying that. But either I'm doing that intentionally for a reason that's going to be revealed later on, or I just don't agree. Thank you so much for the feedback. And I have had some people be like, oh, then I don't want to continue beta reading for you. And I'm like, that's totally fine. Most people are just like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess that's what you're doing with the character. I wish you were doing something else, but they are able to realize that it's not their book. And they're just like, well, I wish this character wasn't the one who had to go on this arc that I don't love. But if that's what you're doing, then fine. So I don't tie my ego up to feedback. And if somebody, I'm perfectly willing to not like something while not forcing myself to think that it's like wrong or evil, which is a thing that I think we see in a lot of online discourse. Is somebody doesn't like something and then they have to invent a reason that thing is actually harmful or bad or problematic, because it's not enough for them to just say, yeah, I just don't like it. I don't like it. There's a YouTuber who is a good guy, believes in all the things I believe in, champion for justice in the universe, activist and everything like that. I can't stand his fucking face. There's nothing wrong with him. I just hate his videos because, like, I want him to keep doing what he's doing. I don't want to destroy his life. I don't want anything bad. I want him to succeed and be awesome. I will not watch him. I cannot watch him because I can't stand his face or his voice. He annoys the shit out of me. That's fine. You know what I mean? And I am willing to say that about people. So I'm perfectly willing for people to say that about me. It's just like, I hate your writing style. I'm like, fantastic. Go read somebody who has a writing style you like. They exist. They're out there. I want you to enjoy what you're doing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's hilarious.
Adam Stevenson.
Name him.
No. I don't want to contribute to any bad feelings towards this guy in any way, because it's just a straight up personal preference. I don't want anybody to include me in their hate train. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody to be like, he agrees with me, therefore this person sucks. It's like, no, he doesn't suck. I just can't stand his face.
It's no fault of his own.
That's right.
I just can't look at him. Next one up, Garrett. What is your favorite / most used expletive?
I say cockknuckle a lot. A lot. I'll just be like picking up a piece of paper and bump my microphone and go, oh, cock. My wife doesn't love it. And
Cockknuckle's a new one. We've asked people this question on this channel before. That's a first for me.
I don't know where it came from. And then it's so funny because my friends,
it's such a visual.
They hear me say it all the time. And then I don't know if you play D&D, but I made such a tremendous mistake. I made such a bad mistake. My players, I'm done DM for this campaign. My players went into the Feywild, and there was a coven of hags that were making their lives miserable in the Feywild. And I didn't even think about it because I didn't ever say it out loud. I just wrote it in my notes. And they discovered the name of the coven of hags was the Rock Knuckle Coven. I didn't even think about it at all. And they were like, oh, so they're the Cockknuckle Hags. And I'm like, no. And they're like, it's the Cockknuckle Hags.
Yeah.
No. God damn it.
You walked into that one, though. Like
I did it to myself.
You just walked into that one. Do you write to music? And if so, lyrics or no lyrics? I'm a big lyrics guy myself. Love your energy, bro.
I've written all of my books, every single one, even before I was writing the Underrealm books, to Rise Against. I play Rise Against's entire discography loud on repeat. Shuffle their whole I don't know what it is. I don't know exactly why. I can't
It's
even.
the soundtrack to the world that you're writing.
I guess it's not, but it's like I listen to
Rise
them when I'm writing sad scenes. I listen to them when I'm writing love scenes, happy scenes, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're this angry Chicago postmodern hardcore band, and I love their music. I don't even it's between them, Flogging Molly, and like Anberlin for like my favorite bands of all time. So it's not even like they're my top favorite band of all time. But when I play them, I know all their songs. I know the lyrics to all their songs. And I think that that's key, is because my brain stops trying to hear the lyrics because it already knows them.
Mm.
And so they just are the soundtrack. And
it just becomes white noise in the background.
Exactly. And I've tried, and people are like, well, why don't you just do white noise? And I was like, why don't I? So I tried it. Doesn't work. And I'm just like, it's one of those things where like, it's weird and I don't know why it works, but since it does, I have no reason to change it. It's
yeah,
like,
if it ain't broke.
20 bucks.
I always listen to music without lyrics, whether it's film scores or some concentration music that they have on YouTube. I can't listen to stuff with lyrics because even if I know them, they never become white noise for me. I always hear them and pick up on them and start singing them in my head. It's distracting.
Yeah,
but
and that's the case for me with all other bands, including my favorites. I don't know what it is.
Now, if you and I became best friends a few minutes ago, we just became soulmates because, first of all, I love Rise Against, but also I have a personal connection to Anberlin since way back before they were Anberlin, when they were called, oh man, what was it called? Saga 24/7. That's what they were called before they were called Anberlin. They're from the Orlando area. I'm from the Orlando area. I was playing in punk rock bands right around the time that they were getting started out, right before they became Anberlin and took off. And even my second girlfriend I credit to knowing them, because it was one of those things where they like said hi to me at a show. You know, I didn't go up to them; they came up to me, and the girl was like, "Oh, I gotta go on a date with this guy." So,
that is
Anberlin.
Amazing. Oh my God,
we're gonna have to talk.
Cool. I love them so much. Oh,
they're so good. They have no business being that good. They have no business being that good.
Yeah.
All right, next up. What book do you love that you believe is mega underrated? Oh, I love when they go to the bookshelf.
Where is it? Where are you?
You have a long headphone cord. You're not even scared. Look at you.
It might be in my bedroom. I have another bookshelf in my bedroom. Dagger Spell by Catherine Kerr. Dagger Spell by Catherine Kerr. It is the start of a book series called The Devery Cycle. And it's a book, I think it came out in the 80s, early 90s. And it's just awesome. It's so good. It's got to be in my on my bookshelf in my bedroom. Dagger Spell, and then there's more in the series like Dark Spell and so on and so forth. And she's written other books sort of set in the same world. I actually don't even know if she's still around, if she's still writing or anything like that, but that series is top notch, incredible fantasy. And then the other one is Riddlemaster of Head, or the Riddlemaster Saga by Patricia A. McKillop. Again, late 80s, early 90s, and they are two series that just they're very clearly they very clearly exist because of Tolkien and the upswell of fantasy happening around that time. But as much as we all
everything.
as does everything, but as much as we all love them, I think that we can acknowledge that there are a lot of series that came out during that time that are a bit more derivative, a bit more just like, oh well, shit, I can do that, and just sort of like wrote something that was just very incredibly Tolkien. And these two series and these two authors really like tried to break the mold and tried to do something a little bit different. They tried to reframe it. They tried to move away from a band of adventurers gather together and then go off on a quest where sometimes they split up and sometimes they get back together, but it is a band of adventurers gather and go on a quest. They tried to make a different sort of story structure where for the Dagger Spell series, one person screws up their and everyone around them's lives so badly that they make an eternal pledge to come back lifetime after lifetime and fix it. And for the which it's such a good series. If that sounds interesting to you at all, it's 10 times better than it sounds. And then for the Riddle Master series, how would I do that in one sentence? I actually can't one sentence that without spoilers. You just have to experience it. But it's a very different whole mythic structure, completely. And then to answer Danny's question, unfortunately, no, because of the time it was published and because it was mainstream publishing, that stuff was still pretty hard no from most mainstream avenues back then. So there's unfortunately no gay rep in it, but it's still worth it. Still a very tremendously good series. One of my favorite series of all time.
You mentioned earlier that you're releasing all your books on audiobook now. Are you reading them all, or are you getting? Oh man, that's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, I was in a former life. One of the things that I ended up doing after high school, I was a voice actor for a couple of years, and so when it came time to do the audiobooks, I did get Nightblade produced originally by another person. It was actually bought by Podium Publishing. Great studio, great guys. I've met them at cons and we've hung out and like had drinks together personally. The book just didn't work out. I wasn't happy with the final product, and the sales didn't come in, and so we just mutually agreed. It was like, hey, why don't you take that one down? I'll take back the rights and I'll handle it myself. It was totally amicable. Love them. If you ever get a chance to work with Podium, 99% of the books that they put out are smash hits that make tons of money and are just incredible. This one just sometimes the magic isn't there. So I've been narrating them myself since then. That is a thing I'm going to end off and hand over to somebody. I realized that the right solution at that point wasn't to then just do all the narrating myself. It was to, sort of step back and find my own narrator who I did know and could trust and work with and retain control so that I could make sure it was good enough, because the time commitment is crazy.
It's a huge project for sure. We have two more questions that we're going to speed through here, but first I wanted to show you the barrage of nonsense that happened here. Cockknuckle Hags sounds like a punk band. Cockknuckle Hags sounds like a druid baseball team to me. The Cockknuckle could be an old world British pub. Surely that's a street name somewhere in the UK.
Or a little town.
And then the only voice of reason, Mr. Holiday, you're done. Get out of here. All right, so last two questions. Beyond the books you're putting out into the world, are there books you'd like to see exist? Just dream books you would really be excited to hear about from a friend? Interesting question.
That is a fantastic question. Right now, the dream book that I'm trying to manifest is the third book in the Locked Tomb series, because this month I read Gideon the Ninth and then Harrow the Ninth. I think Gideon is sitting over there on my desk, and I want the third book very, very badly. But dream concept books that I would love to hear about from a friend. Honestly, all the dream books that I have are ones that I'm either intending to write or want to hire somebody to write. You know what I mean? A dream book. I can't think of one, because I definitely have a bit of the problem where if I get an idea that something would be cool, I just put it on my list of things to do. Unfortunately, I don't always get to them.
I know what that's like.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite piece of fan art? Anything that you have kept over the years?
I have one that I'm not allowed to share with anybody. Yep.
It's naughty, isn't it?
It's super naughty.
Yeah, I knew
it. Can't ever put it out there. And then somebody did do a drawing of the whole Nightblade Epic crew: Lauren, her best friends Jem and Anis, the wizard Zane, and the knight Jordell. And it is in such It's in such a unique style. It's not. It's just very. It's very sort of like cartoony kids book, but like an epic fantasy cartoony kids book. It's a great little style. So I actually have that. I don't have it in my office anymore, but it's up here somewhere in the house.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think that brings us to the end of our questions from the chat. And I believe that's all the questions that I had for you. Thank you all so very much for being here with me today. Garrett, thank you so very much for coming. This was a blast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
It's been an honor having you on the channel. Please let the folks at home know what they can expect next from you, and go ahead and say your goodbyes.
All right. Well, the next book is called Quest, Book 1, Oris, and it should be coming out pretty soon here. I'm going to be publishing it in a serialized format. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like yet. I'm working with somebody who is sort of helping coach me through it. But before the end of the year, you should start seeing Quest. If you want to get updates about that, you can sign up for my email list at underrealm.net. You get a free book out of it, and then you get introduced to the world of 13 more fantasy novels that I think you're really going to like, and you'll be able to see the next one as it's coming out. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Thanks again, Garrett. Don't leave. We have more to do.
Absolutely.
If the rest of you would like more from Mr. Robinson here, come back here to this channel, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday the 8th for his episode of Typewriters Podcast, which we're going to go record now. And don't forget Tuber Book Club on Tuesday, same time, 4 p.m. I'll see you all back here next Sunday for an all-new episode of Livestream Sunday with special guest Mike DeFrench, which I'm very excited to speak to him. He's huge on TikTok over there with really great writing advice and, hair game, recognized game. So we'll see how that goes. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. And I just want to say goodbye to the chat. Yes. Good. No promises. All right, y'all. Thank you so very much. See you guys Tuesday, Thursday, and then again next Sunday. Till next time, we out.